The following program is 110% fictional parody or satire, so have fun!
The Firing of the Photon Cannon. Part 1. The Call to Arms. Chapter 1. The Summons. Andrew Huberman, neuroscientist extraordinaire, adjusted the angle of his blue light-blocking glasses, the faint glow of his triple-monitor setup reflecting in the amber lenses. His home office, a meticulously organized shrine to human optimization, hummed with the quiet efficiency of a well-calibrated brain. On one screen, a graph charted his morning cortisol levels, optimal. On another, a real-time feed of his HRV, excellent. On the third, an email from the university dean, subject line, urgent, quantum leap opportunity. Huberman sighed. Quantum leap. The phrase alone sent a shiver down his spine, not of excitement, but of anticipated imprecision. He preferred neural pathway optimization or synaptic firing enhancement. Still, the dean rarely bothered him unless it involved a grant large enough to fund a new wing of the neuroscience department. He clicked. Miles away, David Eagleman, perched precariously on a stack of forgotten philosophy texts, was contemplating the profound implications of a dust mote dancing in a sunbeam. Was its seemingly random trajectory a testament to free will, or merely the deterministic dance of air currents? He scribbled furiously in a leather-bound notebook, a half-eaten bagel forgotten beside him. His office was less a workspace and more a testament to the chaotic beauty of an unconstrained mind. Books piled like precarious Jenga towers, whiteboards covered in overlapping, half-erased equations, and a faint scent of burnt toast. A notification chimed from his laptop, jarring him from his reverie. Urgent, quantum leap opportunity. He blinked. Quantum mechanics. Always so unsettlingly precise for something so inherently probabilistic. He clicked, a faint tremor of philosophical unease rippling through his cerebral cortex. In a cluttered workshop that smelled faintly of burnt plastic and ambition, Mark Rober was putting the finishing touches on his latest invention, an automated squirrel feeder that launched acorns at precisely 47 miles per hour. "Take that, you bushy-tailed bandits," he muttered, adjusting a miniature trebuchet. Sparks flew from a loose wire, narrowly missing a stack of empty Pringles cans. His phone buzzed, vibrating off a workbench and landing with a clatter in a bucket of ball bearings. Urgent, quantum leap opportunity. Rober grinned. Quantum? Sounds like it needs more thrust. Or maybe a bigger glitter bomb. He wiped grease on his jeans and tapped the screen with a callous thumb. Sabine Hossenfelder, meanwhile, was mid-rant on her YouTube channel, dissecting a recent pop science article with the precision of a laser scalpel. And here, ladies and gentlemen, she intoned, her voice a dry, sardonic whisper that could flay the skin off a theoretical physicist at 50 paces. We have the classic hand-waving, the just-so story, the utter lack of falsifiable predictions. This isn't science, it's wish fulfillment dressed up in equations. Her comment section was already a war zone. Her phone vibrated. Urgent, quantum leap opportunity. She scoffed. Quantum leap. Probably means another grant for something that will never work. She clicked, already drafting a mental list of all the ways this opportunity would inevitably fail. Across the Atlantic, in a dimly lit, impossibly elegant office filled with antique globes and the faint scent of old paper, Professor Brian Cox gazed out at the Manchester skyline. He was contemplating the vast, unknowable beauty of the cosmos, a single tear of existential wonder tracing a path down his cheek. His phone, a sleek, minimalist device, chimed softly. Urgent, quantum leap opportunity. He smiled, a beatific expression spreading across his face. Ah, the universe calls again, he whispered, convinced it was a sign of some profound cosmic alignment. He clicked, ready to embrace the next grand mystery. Neil deGrasse Tyson, mid-tweet about the astronomical inaccuracy of a popular superhero movie, paused. His office, adorned with posters of galaxies and famous physicists, was a testament to his dual passions, science and public engagement. His phone vibrated with an incoming email. Urgent, quantum leap opportunity. Neil raised an eyebrow. Quantum leap, huh? Sounds like someone's trying to get a bigger budget than my last Cosmos special. He tapped the screen, already formulating a soundbite for whatever this new endeavor entailed. In a small, slightly dusty biology lab, Joe Hanson was trying to coax a tardigrade to perform a tiny high five for his "It's Okay to Be Smart" video. "Come on, little guy, just one high five for science," he cajoled, a camera trained on the microscopic creature. His phone chimed, startling the tardigrade into a microscopic tantrum. "Urgent, quantum leap opportunity." Joe sighed. "Great. Probably another project that involves physics. Why can't we just stick to the fascinating world of slime molds?" He clicked, bracing himself for the inevitable. And finally, Derek Muller, aka Veritasium, was meticulously setting up a complex experiment involving a vacuum chamber and a feather. He was recording a video about the surprising behavior of objects in a perfect vacuum. His phone, propped on a tripod, buzzed. "Urgent, quantum leap opportunity." Derek paused, a thoughtful frown on his face. "Quantum leap," he mused. "That usually means someone's about to violate the laws of thermodynamics in the name of innovation." He tapped the screen, already formulating a series of questions to expose the inevitable flaws. All 8 received the same email, beckoning them to a meeting that promised to change their scientific lives. Little did they know, it would mostly just change their stress levels. Chapter 2, The Project Briefing. The conference room was, as Huberman immediately noted, optimally lit for inducing mild anxiety. The chairs were ergonomically questionable, and the air, despite the building's state-of-the-art designation, had a faint, unsettling aroma of stale coffee and desperation. At the head of the polished mahogany table stood Dean Thompson, a man whose smile was as wide and as empty as a black hole. He clapped his hands together, a sound that made Sabine Hossenfelder visibly flinch. "Welcome, welcome, esteemed colleagues," Thompson boomed, his voice echoing slightly in the cavernous room. "We are on the cusp of a truly transformative moment. A moment that will redefine human communication. A moment that will put our university on the map." Neil deGrasse Tyson leaned back in his chair, already mentally editing Thompson's overly dramatic prose. "Needs more cosmic perspective. Less map. I'm thrilled to introduce our visionary benefactor," Thompson continued, gesturing to a man in a suspiciously shiny suit. "Mr. Trevor Vance, CEO of Vance Global Technologies." Trevor Vance, a man whose hair seemed to defy gravity with the same tenacity as Brian Greene's theories, stepped forward. He had the manic energy of a squirrel who just discovered a cache of espresso beans. "Scientists," Vance exclaimed, his voice a high-pitched whinny. "I'm here because I believe in the future. And the future, my friends, is instantaneous. We live in a world of delays. Buffering. Lag. I say and no more." He slammed a fist on the table, making a glass of water chop. Huberman instinctively checked his pulse. "My vision," Vance continued, pacing excitedly, "is the quantum-entangled photon cannon." Sabine Hossenfelder snorted. It was a small, almost imperceptible sound, but in the silence that followed, it might as well have been a cannon firing. Vance, oblivious, continued. "Imagine data transmitted across continents, across the globe, at the speed of, well, faster than light, technically, because of the entanglement. No wires, no satellites, just poof. Information, instantly there." He mimed a magical explosion with his hands. Brian Greene's eyes lit up. "Ah, the non-local correlation of entangled particles. A beautiful manifestation of quantum mechanics' most counterintuitive properties." Sabine's snort turned into a full-blown scoff. "Non-local correlation does not mean faster than light information transfer, Professor Greene. That violates causality. You can't use entanglement to send a signal." Greene, undeterred, beamed. "But the potential, Dr. Hossenfelder. The elegance. The impossibility." Sabine shot back. Dean Thompson quickly interjected. "Ahem. Lively debate. Excellent. That's what we encourage here." He shot Sabine a warning glance. "Now, to ensure the success of this ambitious undertaking, we have assembled the finest minds in their respective fields." He then proceeded to assign roles, each one more comically ill-suited than the last. Brian Greene, head of theoretical quantum entanglement. Greene looked thrilled. Sabine Hossenfelder, head of practical quantum entanglement and reality checks. Sabine looked like she'd just been assigned to clean a black hole with a toothbrush. Mark Rober, lead mechanical engineer. Rober immediately started sketching something that looked suspiciously like a giant slingshot. Andrew Huberman, head of human performance and biooptimization. Huberman was already mentally designing a protocol for optimal photon cannon operation. Chapter 5, Rober's Rocket Science. While the theoretical physicists waged war, Mark Rober was busy in his corner, a whirlwind of duct tape, power drills, and questionable engineering. His designated firing mechanism had evolved from a simple spring-loaded plunger into a monstrous contraption that looked like a cross between a potato cannon, a leaf blower, and a discarded washing machine. Okay, so the issue with photons, Rober explained to a bewildered Neil deGrasse Tyson, who had wandered over, hoping to find a quiet spot away from the Brian Hossenfelder debate, is they're tiny. Really, really tiny. You can't just, push them. You gotta give them a good kick. He gestured to a series of repurposed car batteries wired to a massive electromagnet. So, this is the photon accelerator. It'll give the photons a nice magnetic boost. Then, they shoot into this chamber. He pointed to a section made from PVC pipes and a repurposed vacuum cleaner hose, where they get, focused. Tyson stared. Marked, photons are not affected by magnetic fields. They're bosons, not charged particles. Rober waved a dismissive hand. Details, details. It's about the force. And then, for the cannon part, I've got this. He unveiled a polished chrome tube, roughly the size of a small bazooka, mounted on a wobbly tripod. This is the quantum dispersion barrel. It's got a special coating of a space-age reflective material. Found it on eBay. Space-age reflective material? Tyson repeated, his voice laced with disbelief. Yeah, and for the quantum entanglement. Rober leaned in conspiratorially. I've got 2 of these barrels. One here, one in the other room. We fire them simultaneously, and then, boom. Entanglement. He clapped his hands together, sending a shower of sawdust onto Tyson's pristine blazer. Tyson sighed. Mark, entanglement isn't something you boom into existence with 2 barrels. It's a delicate quantum phenomenon, often created at the point of origin, like in a Dow conversion crystal. Dow conversion crystal? Is that like a fancy prism? Rober asked, already sketching a new design that incorporated a disco ball. I could totally rig up a disco ball. Diana Cowan, who was trying to set up a proper photon source nearby, watched in horrified fascination. Mark, you're going to need a very precise, coherent light source, not a leaf blower. Precision is for surgeons, Diana. Rober declared, tightening a bolt with a wrench. Engineers build things that work. And sometimes, work means a little bit of creative application. His creative application often involved loud noises, unexpected bursts of compressed air, and the occasional shower of sparks. The lab's power grid frequently flickered, and the fire alarm had been pulled twice already. Huberman, ever diligent, had started wearing noise-canceling headphones and a hard hat, even when just analyzing urine samples. One afternoon, Rober decided to test the pneumatic assist of his cannon. He aimed it at a stack of empty cardboard boxes. With a mighty whoosh, the leaf blower roared to life, sending a torrent of air. The cardboard boxes, instead of being propelled forward, simply disintegrated into a cloud of confetti-like debris. A faint, high-pitched whistling sound followed. Ah, Rober said, scratching his head. More dispersion than propulsion. Maybe I need a bigger fan. Derek Muller, who had been observing from a safe distance, walked over. Mark, perhaps we should revisit the fundamental principles of fluid dynamics, or indeed, the principles of optics, before we attempt to fire anything. Rober just shrugged. Nah, it just needs more power. And maybe some glitter. Everyone loves glitter. The quantum dispersion barrel was less a scientific instrument and more a testament to Mark Rober's boundless, chaotic optimism. It was a ticking time bomb of comedic potential, waiting for its moment to shine. Or, more likely, explode. Chapter 6, Tyson's PR Nightmare. Neil deGrasse Tyson prided himself on his ability to distill complex cosmic truths into digestible, awe-inspiring sound bites. He could make the Big Bang sound like a personal anecdote and black holes feel like a cozy, if gravitationally inescapable, hug. But the quantum-entangled photon cannon project was proving to be his ultimate linguistic challenge. His first attempt at a press release was a masterpiece of scientific euphemism. The university proudly announces a groundbreaking initiative poised to explore the non-local correlations of quantum entanglement, paving the way for novel paradigms in information dissemination. Dean Thompson sent it back with a single, scrawled note: too sciencey. Needs more boom and less dissemination. Tyson sighed. He tried again. He approached Brian Greene, who was currently explaining to a bewildered janitor how the universe might be a hologram. Brian, Tyson began, I need a concise, exciting description of the photon cannon for the press. Something that captures the essence of its potential. Greene's eyes lit up. Ah, Neil. It is a symphony of light, a ballet of subatomic particles pirouetting across the cosmic stage, their fates intertwined by the delicate threads of quantum reality, whispering secrets across the void. Tyson blinked. Right. So, whispering secrets across the void. Got it. A little poetic, but I can work with that. Next, he approached Sabine Hossenfelder, who was meticulously cleaning her glasses with a microfiber cloth, as if to wipe away the theoretical nonsense she'd been exposed to. Sabine, Tyson ventured, how would you describe the photon cannon to a general audience, without, causing a panic? Sabine fixed him with a steely gaze. It's a very expensive way to demonstrate that you can't send information faster than light. It's a monument to wishful thinking and bad physics. And it's probably going to blow up. Tyson scribbled furiously. Okay, so, robust demonstration of fundamental physical limits, with an emphasis on unexpected energy release. Might need to workshop that last part. He found Mark Rober attempting to attach a small, blinking Christmas light to what he called the photon emission nozzle. Mark, in layman's terms, what does this thing do? Rober beamed. It makes photons go zoom, really, really fast. And then they, talk to each other across the room. Like two secret agents sending coded messages, but with light. Secret agents sending coded messages, Tyson repeated, already envisioning the headlines. University builds spy cannon. Not ideal. His biggest challenge came during a rehearsal for the live broadcast. Trevor Vance insisted on a dramatic reveal. Neil, Vance instructed, I want you to stand here, right in front of the cannon. And when I say fire, you hit this button, and then you deliver your line. Something powerful. Something that makes people feel like they're witnessing history. Tyson, looking at Rober's precarious contraction, felt a bead of sweat trickle down his brow. Mr. Vance, perhaps a slightly safer distance for the spokesperson, and maybe a line that doesn't imply we're about to violate causality. Vance just laughed. Nonsense. Risk equals reward, Neil. And the line needs to be epic. Something about unlocking the universe's secrets. Tyson practiced his line. Today, we unlock the universe's secrets, one photon at a time. He tried to sound confident, but the faint smell of ozone and burnt wires emanating from Rober's cannon was distracting. He knew, deep down, that the only thing they were unlocking was a potential PR disaster. Chapter 7. The Huberman Lab Experiments. Andrew Huberman, ever the pragmatist, quickly realized that the biggest variable in the photon cannon project wasn't the quantum mechanics, but the wildly unstable human element. His colleagues, with their emotional outbursts, philosophical tangents, and penchant for incorporating household appliances into high-tech equipment, were a biological train wreck waiting to happen. His solution, rigorous, unsolicited biooptimization. He set up a small, discrete lab within the main lab, filled with various monitors, blood pressure cuffs, and a suspiciously large collection of urine sample cups. Good morning, Dr. Greene. Huberman greeted one day, sidling up to Brian, who was furiously sketching a multiverse on a napkin. Just a quick, non-invasive assessment of your baseline stress response. Could you perhaps hold this device for a moment? He offered a small, sleek gadget that looked like a futuristic stress ball. Greene, distracted, took it. Oh, certainly, Andrew. I find the act of contemplating infinite possibilities quite calming, actually. Huberman nodded, making a note. Subject, Greene. Self-reported calm, despite clear evidence of hypercaffeination and theoretical overstimulation. Data, unreliable. Later, he approached Sabine Hossenfelder, who was muttering darkly about this pseudoscience industrial complex. Dr. Hossenfelder, Huberman began, I've noticed a consistent elevation in your vocal amplitude during discussions with Dr. Greene. Have you considered a targeted diaphragmatic breathing protocol to modulate sympathetic nervous system activation? Sabine glared at him. I've considered hitting him with a textbook. Is there a protocol for that? Huberman paused, then made another note. Subject, Hossenfelder. High Aggression Index. Part 3, The Firing. Chapter 10, The Final Countdown. The day of the quantum-entangled photon cannon demonstration dawned with an ominous gray sky, perfectly mirroring the mood in the lab. The air crackled with a nervous energy that was distinctly not quantum entanglement. Trevor Vance, the tech mogul, arrived precisely on time, flanked by a full camera crew from Tech Today. He wore a suit that shimmered with an almost unnatural sheen, and his smile was wider and more terrifying than ever. Gentlemen and ladies, he chirped, surveying the lab. This is it. History in the making. The lab itself was a testament to 6 weeks of frantic, often contradictory, effort. Mark Rober's cannon now resembled a steampunk-era pipe organ, cobbled together from various household appliances, automotive parts, and what appeared to be a garden gnome. Wires snaked across the floor like metallic spaghetti, held down by strategically placed coffee mugs. Brian Greene was pacing nervously, muttering equations to himself. The probability amplitude, the wave function collapse, it's all so fragile. Sabine Hossenfelder stood with her arms crossed, a stopwatch in hand. I'm timing how long it takes for this entire farce to collapse, not the wave function. Andrew Huberman, looking surprisingly well-rested thanks to his rigorous sleep protocol, was discreetly taking everyone's pulse. Heart rates are elevated across the board. Cortisol levels are spiking. This is excellent data for my next paper on acute stress response in high-stakes, implausible scientific endeavors. David Eagleman was sitting cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed, humming softly. He was attempting to achieve a state of pure, non-observational consciousness, hoping to avoid influencing the photon's fate. Neil deGrasse Tyson, resplendent in a custom-tailored suit that featured subtle constellation patterns, stood by the podium, clutching his script. He cleared his throat. Today, we stand on the precipice of a new dawn, where light itself becomes the messenger of humanity's boundless ambition. He tried to project confidence, but his eyes kept darting to Rover's cannon, which was emitting a faint, high-pitched whine. Diana Cowan, despite the chaos, was still trying to make the actual photon source work. Just need to align this last mirror. Carefully, don't want to accidentally create a black hole. Derek Muller was meticulously checking every single connection on the control panel, a deep frown etched on his face. This wiring diagram, it looks like a toddler drew it after a sugar rush. Artistic interpretation, Rover called out, giving his cannon a final, reassuring pat. It's about the flow. Brian Cox, ever the cosmic observer, simply leaned against a wall, a faint, knowing smile on his face. He'd seen supernovae. He'd seen the birth of galaxies. This, he mused, was simply another, smaller, human-scale explosion waiting to happen. And in its own way, it was beautiful. Trevor Vance clapped his hands. All right, team. 5 minutes to broadcast. Neil, you're on in 3. Tyson took a deep breath, adjusted his tie, and stepped up to the podium. The camera lights flared. The photon cannon whined louder. The fate of the university's reputation, and possibly the entire building, rested on the next few moments. Chapter 11, Disaster Strikes. Good morning, and welcome to Tech Today. The perky host, a woman with unervingly perfect teeth, beamed into the camera. We live at the university, where a team of brilliant scientists is about to unveil a technology that promises to revolutionize communication as we know it, the quantum-entangled photon cannon. The camera panned to Neil deGrasse Tyson, who offered his most reassuring, universe-embracing smile. Indeed, Sarah, today, we stand on the precipice of a new dawn, where light itself becomes the messenger of humanity's boundless ambition. He paused dramatically, gesturing towards Mark Rober's cannon. Mr. Vance, if you would do the honors? Trevor Vance, practically vibrating with excitement, stepped forward. With great pleasure, Neil. This is for the future. He dramatically pressed a large, red, clearly labeled fire button on a control panel that Rober had wired up just minutes before. A low thrum filled the lab. Rober's cannon began to vibrate violently. The Christmas lights he'd attached flickered erratically. Initiating sequence, Rober yelled, pumping his fist. Suddenly, a loud pop echoed through the lab. A small, but very distinct, puff of gray smoke billowed from the cannon's main barrel. The high-pitched whine turned into a sputtering cough. Then, the entire lab plunged into semi-darkness as the main power flickered. The overhead fluorescent lights buzzed weakly, casting long, flickering shadows. A few sparks danced merrily from the control panel. What in the quantum entanglement was that? The Tech Today host shrieked, her perfect smile momentarily faltering. Sabine Hossenfelder, who had been timing, clicked her stopwatch. 3.7 seconds. Faster than I expected, actually. Brian Greene rushed forward, peering at the smoking cannon. The wave function, it has collapsed. Prematurely, and quite spectacularly. Mark Rober, looking genuinely confused, kicked the side of his cannon. Huh, must be a loose wire. Or maybe the garden gnome wasn't properly grounded. Andrew Huberman, ever the scientist, pulled out a small, emergency flashlight and shone it on his stress monitor. Fascinating. The collective heart rate of the team has just spiked to levels typically seen in extreme athletic performance or a bear attack. David Eagleman, still cross-legged on the floor, slowly opened his eyes. Ah, he murmured. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, has chosen to express its disapproval through a localized energy discharge and a temporary disruption of the electromagnetic spectrum. A clear signal, if one is attuned to its subtle language. It's a power outage, David. Sabine snapped. The Tech Today host, clearly panicking, turned back to Neil deGrasse Tyson, her eyes wide. Professor Tyson, what just happened? Tyson, for a split second, was frozen. His mind raced. The smoke. The flickering lights. The distinct smell of something burning. This was not in the script. This was not the universe unfolding. This was the universe unraveling. But then, the years of public speaking, the countless live interviews, the sheer force of his scientific showmanship kicked in. He took a deep breath, and with a glint in his eye, he began to spin. Chapter 12, The Spin Zone. Neil deGrasse Tyson, facing the terrified gaze of the Tech Today host and the bewildered camera crew, knew this was his moment. Not for scientific triumph, but for linguistic alchemy. He had to turn a smoking, sputtering failure into a cosmic success. He stepped forward, his voice calm, resonant, and utterly confident, despite the faint smell of burnt plastic clinging to the air. Ah, Sarah, Tyson began, a knowing smile playing on his lips. What you have just witnessed is not a malfunction, but a deliberate, multi-stage, and utterly groundbreaking demonstration of quantum resilience. The host blinked. Quantum resilience? Precisely, Tyson boomed, gesturing grandly towards the still smoking cannon. What appears to be mere smoke to the untrained eye is, in fact, a visual representation of quantum decay, a byproduct of the photon's instantaneous, non-local journey across the very fabric of space-time. Brian Greene, listening intently, slowly began to nod. The visual representation of quantum decay? Yes, the dissipation of the wave function's potential energy. Sabine Hossenfelder slapped her forehead. He's making it up, she hissed, but too quietly for the cameras to pick up. Tyson continued, warming to his theme. The flickering lights, the momentary power surge. That, my friends, is the universe itself reacting. A cosmic hiccup as our photon cannon momentarily bends the very laws of physics to its will. It's the sound of reality, stretching. Mark Rober, who had been about to confess that he might have used too much voltage, suddenly looked enlightened. Cosmic hiccup. I like that. It sounds way better than, I forgot to check the fuse box. And the lack of a visible beam? The host asked, still trying to process. Ah, the beam. Tyson chuckled, as if this was the most obvious thing in the world. The photons, you see, are moving at such incredible speeds, and are so intrinsically entangled, that their journey is almost supersexual. They are there, and not there, all at once. A paradox of instantaneous presence. David Eagleman, who had been listening with a mixture of awe and philosophical delight, slowly rose. The paradox of instantaneous presence. Neil, you've captured the very essence of the quantum dilemma. Huberman, meanwhile, was charting Tyson's performance. Subject, Tyson, exhibits extreme cognitive flexibility under pressure. ability to generate plausible sounding, yet scientifically dubious explanations, off the charts. Recommend for crisis management training. Trevor Vance, the tech mogul, was practically vibrating. He'd understood none of it, but it sounded amazing. Subperceptual. Cosmic hiccup. This is brilliant, Neil. And what does this mean for communication? The host asked, regaining her composure, clearly swept up in Tyson's narrative. It means, Tyson declared, spreading his arms wide, that we are no longer bound by the limitations of space and time. We are on the verge of a future where information flows as freely and as beautifully as the light from a distant star. A future where the universe itself becomes our messenger. He concluded with a flourish, and the camera crew, clearly impressed, applauded. Vance clapped loudest of all. Sabine Hossenfelder just stood there, mouth agape. He just redefined failure as groundbreaking quantum resilience. I need a drink. Derek Muller, ever the purist, simply shook his head. The amount of scientific integrity just lost in that 5-minute segment could power a small city. But it didn't matter. The spin had worked. The disaster had been averted. And the future of the quantum-entangled photon cannon, however ill-conceived, was now assured. Chapter 13, The Victory of Dissection. The Tech Today segment went viral. Quantum resilience became the new buzzword in Silicon Valley. Trevor Vance, riding high on the unexpected publicity, immediately called Dean Thompson. Dean. That was transcendent. Vance's voice crackled with manic energy over the phone. The public loves it. They think we've cracked the code of the universe. I'm tripling the funding. We need to scale this up. I'm talking global photon cannons. One in every major city. Dean Thompson, who had watched the broadcast with a mixture of terror and grudging admiration for Tyson, nearly fainted. Tripling the funding, Mr. Vance. And I want a follow-up demonstration in 3 months. Vance declared. Bigger. More cosmic. Maybe a light show. Back in the lab, the team stared at the still smoking cannon, now bathed in the weak, flickering light of the partially restored power. The initial shock of the failed demonstration had given way to the dawning horror of their unexpected success. So, Sabine Hossenfelder said, breaking the silence, we failed spectacularly, and our reward is more money to fail even more spectacularly. Brian Greene, however, looked genuinely excited. But Sabine, think of the possibilities. With triple the funding, we can truly explore the deeper implications of the photon's subperceptual journey. Or, Mark Rober interjected, already pulling out a new set of blueprints. We can finally build a photon cannon that actually works. I'm thinking bigger leaf blowers. And maybe a real laser this time. Diana Cowan sighed. A real laser would be nice. Andrew Huberman was already calculating the optimal sleep cycles for a 3-month, high-stress, ethically ambiguous project. I'll need to increase the omega-3 dosage for everyone, and possibly introduce a mandatory meditation protocol. David Eagleman, still in his philosophical trance, slowly stood up. Perhaps, he mused, the universe's greatest trick is convincing us that our failures are, in fact, our greatest triumphs. A cosmic irony, if you will, designed to propel us toward an even more profound understanding of, well, of everything. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who had just finished a triumphant call with his agent, clapped his hands together. All right, team. You heard the man. We're back in business. And this time, we're not just bending the laws of physics. We're making them dance. Derek Muller just looked at the smoking cannon, then at the excited faces of his colleagues, then back at the cannon. He pulled out a small, emergency flask from his coat pocket. I think, he murmured, taking a long sip, I'm going to need a lot more data for my next debunking video. As the first rays of dawn filtered through the lab windows, illuminating the chaotic scene, the scientists knew one thing for sure. They were stuck together. Their individual brilliance, when combined, created a comedic force of nature. The photon cannon might have been a bust, but the series of hilarious disasters it had unleashed was just beginning. The universe, it seemed, had a very strange sense of humor, and they were all starring in its next big show. Synthesized successfully,